testing North Korea's illegal smartphones. Mr. Who's the Boss. Interesting name, by the way. Anyways, we'll look at this. Let's see. I don't know. I know that, like, North Korea is a little special, right? Because you have to, like you have to go into, like, a little app shop, and to download apps and crazy shit. We'll see. I'm curious.
These are two extremely rare phones from North Korea, and it's kind of insane that I'm even holding them.
They look fairly normal.
The North Korean population is so cut off from the outside world that it's almost impossible to even get a text message out, let alone two fully functional smuggled phones that show us in crystal clear detail what it's actually like to be a North Korean citizen. So this is the Haean 701. It's one of the country's
Haean 701, okay, one of the countries what?
These budget phones. Just to give
Budget phones? Budget phones?
you an idea of how little is known about this stuff, you can Google the phone's name and nothing will come up. Absolutely zero. And then the second is the Samtaesung 8, which is a flagship North Korean phone. And yeah, this is different to South Korea's Samsung, which translates to 3 stars.
Okay, interesting.
This is Samtaesung, which translates
Samtaesung. So they literally just, like, took the name, put the tape art in, and that's it?
to 3 huge stars. You're going to be seeing a lot of this whole my dad could totally beat up your dad energy. But that's because convincing North Koreans that they are superior to South Koreans, that they are morally purer and militarily stronger, is about the most effective way of keeping them loyal to the government. And it's pretty clear when you look.
Yeah, but they're gonna die out. They're gonna die out because they ain't making babies. They're too old. I mean, the women were literally crying on camera. At this point, yo, if you want a breeding visa, Kim, I'm coming.
Look at these phones, that the smartphone is playing a big part in that. I can actually show you this right now by trying to type on these phones. So if I write Namhan, this means South Korea. The second that I hit the spacebar, that gets auto-corrected to puppet state. It is
Diabolical. Interesting. So you can't type South Korea and it gets turned into puppet state. Auto-corrected. It's simple, South bad, North good. In their heads, maybe, but in reality, not so much.
bonkers seeing censorship this explicit happening in real time in front of my eyes. You physically cannot send the word Namhan even if you try, which shows just how committed North Korea's government is to sustaining its narrative that South Korea is this inferior, less individual country that just blindly follows whatever the US asks them to. Other ways of wording it, like Republic of Korea, that doesn't even get corrected. That just turns straight into asterisks. Kind of like you're a child and you just tried to make your Club Penguin username a swear word. And you can actually see the censorship become—
Yeah, it was literally just like censored. We're doing tech vids now. We've been doing tech videos before. For example, what was the recent one? How, in what ways fast charging badly affects phones. We did that before. And probably a few videos before that.
becoming more invasive as time is going on. Because if we use this—
Also, is it really a tech video? This is really just an interesting topic. I mean, North Korean phones, you don't see that all day.
Haean phone, which came a few months before, this one lets you write North Korea as North Korea, but the Samtaesung doesn't even let you do that. The only way that you're allowed to refer to North Korea now is Joseon, the traditional name for the Korean kingdom, and then South Korea, almost as if they're belonging to them, as South Joseon. But it gets worse, because Daily NK News, the guys who actually secured these phones in the first place, and whose basement I'm sitting in right now, they've probed around and found all sorts of extra oddities in the software. Like how, if you type Kim Jong-un, the name of the current leader, into any app, it will make the text bold the second you finish the word.
Interesting. Okay. Bro is self-glaze. That's a crazy glaze. Guys, that is an insane glaze. That is a diabolical glaze. This man is glazing himself by letting others type his name.
Or how all sorts of South Korean slang is just subtly corrected to the more proper North Korean approved way of saying the same thing, presumably because a lot of this slang originates in some capacity from South Korean media, and the North doesn't want their population to even indirectly experience that. But probably the single craziest example of this is if we type oppa. This is a common South Korean expression that can be used to mean either older brother or, in slang terms, boyfriend.
이거 좀 따주세요, 오빠.
Which in itself does raise a few questions. On these
But why? Interesting. Interesting, huh?
North Korean phones, though, it corrects the word to comrade, accompanied
Comrade. Yeah, the communism through and through.
by a warning. This word can only be used to describe your siblings. Imagine getting a warning for attempting to type a slang word. That's moderation on a level that I have never experienced before. But
Well, the UK might maybe follow soon. Who knows, my friend?
I would say even more significant than autocorrect, the biggest factor in controlling information going in and out of North Korea, and the main reason that the country is still this cryptic bubble and we barely know these phones even exist, is the internet situation. Or really, the lack of.
Do you mean the lack of internet? North Korea has no internet, barely any internet. I think my homie Cricket is in the past. Can somebody tell Cricket that he's in the past?
Look at this. On the Haeyang phone, you can swipe down from the top and you see your control panel that looks basically the same as every other Android's. And there's even a Wi-Fi button there, but when you press it, absolutely nothing.
Nothing happens. Wait, they don't have Wi-Fi? Gift to comrade, real development. We went from that's like, you get comrade zoned in North Korea.
Happens. Weird, but let's go into settings to click on Wi-Fi directly, but you can't. And they've actually gone a step further with this more recent Samtaesang, because you go into the quick settings, there isn't even a Wi-Fi icon at all. It's like they don't want you to even consider that the feature could be as accessible as that. The only way to get something that even resembles Wi-Fi is this. It's called Mrwhosetheboss, and it needs so many details from you, including your government ID.
Damn! Name, government ID, phone number, I'm assuming. Got a password?
And an authenticated North Korean physical SIM card that it's
Obviously.
pretty safe to assume everything you do while using it can be traced right back to you. And even with all of that, this still doesn't get you onto the internet. There's actually no way for a North Korean citizen to do that. All this can get you is access to a highly curated North Korean intranet, where you can look at specifically government-approved TV, news, propaganda, and apps. More on that in a bit, but the key thing to know for now is it doesn't look like it would be a great experience. The app itself tells you to expect speeds between 2 and 33.
2 megabytes per second, or 30 to 33 megabytes per second. Wow! That's fast as fuck, boy.
Megabits per second, less than a 14th of the speeds that South Koreans are getting on their public Wi-Fi. I imagine the way that North Korea's leaders are seeing this is they know that the second they give their population access to the open World Wide Web, it's game over for being able to control the way they act and think. But then at the same time, they can't give the people nothing if they're trying to convince them that their country is truly superior to all others. Hence this careful substitution of traditional Wi-Fi features for this highly traceable Wi-Fi equivalent that reinforces national pride as opposed to diluting it. But those speeds are so dated. And to be honest, everything about using both of these phones feels dated. Like, it's pretty sad that this Samtaesang is one of their modern flagship phones. It was only released recently in 2023 in North Korea. It was priced pretty close to $1,000, but it looks like a mid-range Huawei phone from 2021. Actually, let me be clear. It really looks like a mid-range Huawei phone from 2021. I'm almost getting deja vu looking at it. The way the camera module has an identical style and position, the way the body and the
Interesting. They obviously they do copy quite a lot, right? They do copy quite a few things.
screen curves around in a seemingly identical way. Even this incredibly unique Huawei-style cutout around the buttons and this red line in the middle of the power key is the same. Plus, for security reasons, I've got to keep the IMEI number hidden. But when we traced it back, it does look like this phone was manufactured in China, just like Huawei phones. So I think there's two possible
So it is from China. So it's not even manufactured locally.
Explanations. Either this phone was actually secretly made by Huawei themselves and supplied to North Korea for them to add their software layer, or Samsung just decided, we like the look of that one, let's copy it. Because you're about to see this yourselves, but so much of the content on these phones is copied content already. Why not the phone design?
Yeah, they just imported it. It was just imported. It was just copied. It's just a copycat.
Too. But also that, unlike the Huawei that this looks so similar to, this phone does have a thicker bezel and a notch, this extremely tasteless font on show throughout.
True. That is kind of ugh. Yeah, no SIM card. Bluetooth, plane mode. Yay. Airplane mode. Auto rotate, dark theme, alarm, flashlight, vibration, sleep. So the most things are already there anyways. So interesting, their phones look like this, and their counterparts from South are literally Samsung phones. They just copy because, well, to be fair, they don't have the resources to create anything themselves, right?
The whole user interface, and then the only form of branding on the camera is a feebly written 64 megapixel that gives me absolutely zero reassurance it's going to be a good experience. And it is not. On the Haeyang phone, we're just getting extremely poor, grainy.
Oh my god! Back to the potato ages.
Image quality all around. And even though there are 3 cameras on the back of this phone, there is still no ultra-wide and no zoom. So both extra cameras are just useless macro and depth cameras. A trend that, globally speaking, started to die out pretty fast after 2020. And so the idea that this thing released in 2023 with that kind of setup shows the time lag that we're operating with here. And then on the flagship Samsung, the camera is super buggy. We couldn't even get it to flip around to the rear cameras. And it's also got this really unusual watermark plastered over it, which when we...
Crazy. Please contact who? That's crazy. That's funny.
Reverse, it spells out, please contact Hynetron. Now, I did a little digging and turns out Hynetron is a small, private, China-based company who makes a lot of smartphone parts. So it kind of looks here like they've supplied some of the bits for this phone, but then North Korean Samsung has just not paid their license fee or something. Regardless though of whether this phone is a secret Huawei collab or just a blatant ripoff, it doesn't change the fact that it is terrible value when you consider the global market. But that makes a lot of sense. With North Korea, we are talking about a very unusual market that has almost no competitive pressure. There's almost no incentive to give people cutting edge tech. And if anything, the more dated the tech, the simpler it is, and therefore the easier it is going to be to control. That would also explain why the Haeyang is still running Android 10 with
Android 10. What current version do we have?
Seemingly no ability to update beyond that, and why Samsung is stuck on Android 11, making it 5 years
5 years in the past
worth of updates behind current Android. Let me show you what I mean by all this copied stuff. So there is an app literally here with a Microsoft Word logo. You open it up and it gives you the option for Excel, PowerPoint, and Word, but I can assure you what you are getting here are not Microsoft
Excel, Word, and stuff. I have another tech video. Okay. Oh, by the way, Poke, you remember dial-up? Not in particular.
apps, not even close in functionality. I would actually go as far as to say that at least 50% of the icons that you see on these phones are stripped directly from other companies, like File Manager and Compass. Those are basically Huawei icons that are very slightly reskinned. Maps is an almost one-to-one of the Google Maps icon. This random game uses the same icon as the Mobi Office work application. But let's just zoom out for a second. Even the official Samsung wallpaper, I'm pretty sure they have literally just downloaded the wallpaper from an Honor phone and then added an 8 to it. And then
it looks almost the same. When did you start to use the internet properly? Maybe around 2010, 2011. Pretty much, yeah.
I go over here to the About phone section, I recognize that image.
Interesting. Where's that coming from?
That image is actually stripped straight from the promo material of the completely different looking Huawei Mate 30 Pro phone from.
That is wild. Everything is stolen.
Years ago, and yet it is serving as the poster image for the Samtaesung 8, which makes me side with the theory that this is a copy of Huawei as opposed to made by Huawei. Because if it was made by Huawei, surely the company would use an image that at least matched the design of the phone. There's a whole library of informational videos that you can buy as part of North Korea's intranet, like this one, all about the football club Arsenal. And on the face of it, you're like, oh, this is really premium, how professionally produced. But look a little closer, and you can see this is actually ripped straight from an Amazon Prime series. It's just instead of stay in the game.
That's funny. Why an 8 though? Probably. Probably because, right? Something with the phone. Anyways, you know how dog shit dial-up was? Do you mean like where you had to essentially like, how do you say it? Like load up like the internet? So bad it was, that's how bad it was? Do you mean that? I could be wrong. Like you literally had like to properly like connect to the internet and it took like ages.
It's titled Sweat for the Win, and it's got the logo of a North Korean company plastered across the entire length of it. But there is literally no way that this North Korean company could have bought the license to sell this content, since there are literally sanctions on US companies like Amazon for collaborating with them. There's games too, tons of them, but I just want to show you this football game for a second. It opens with, bizarrely, the same logo that we just saw on the
Everything is copied. They were still working till last month. Okay, so it was that. Crazy. That's crazy. Load internet. You couldn't just like, see, you couldn't just like turn on like the Wi-Fi or stuff, right? You had to like, remember when you enter a game, right? Older games, you had a loading screen. You essentially had a loading screen for the internet with a horrible sound. That's basically what you had. It was pretty much a loading screen, but for the internet in the dark ages. That's pretty much how you could put it.
Amazon Prime show, so it seems like this is some sort of large-scale media redistribution brand who's taking international content and making it North Korea compliant. Then we see the boot up screen with the game's title being International Soccer League 2.0, which is just so interesting.
International Soccer League. Interesting. And guess what? Half of people were still using it. That is horrible.
Because this shot of Messi's face, I reverse image searched it, is not from International Soccer League 2.0, but instead a screen grab from a trailer of Japanese-made Pro Evolution Soccer.
From Konami, you guys live the peasant life. Yeah, you modern spoiled Nepo baby. Till last month, people were still using it. Bro, so like a bunch of people without internet?
The other thing that I think is absolutely fascinating about this football game is the Asian players are missing. Like, you can select the team, Tottenham Hotspur, with all the correct roster as of 2022 when the game was launched, but with the only South Korean member of that team, Son Heung-min, not present. They just chopped him.
Wait. So they removed all the South Korean players. Does that include Japanese as well?
Again, presumably to not show North Koreans that South...
So only South Koreans, right? Because like he said, like Asian, 500,000 poke. There's like half a million people without internet.
South Koreans have proper international athletic careers. In fact, just the general situation with apps in North Korea is so different to what you and I are used to. The first thing that jumps out is there's just so many of them. Like, have you ever seen this many apps pre-installed on a...
No, and that would be hell if that were. I'm seeing it grow up as well, though it's ever changing. Actually, the internet is slowly dying, by the way. You're in its you are experiencing actually it's falling instead of growing.
Smartphone. This right here is a medicine app, but a medicine app where you can order whatever you might need for home
Medicine app.
delivery. There's
Home delivery, okay.
maps with navigation too, although fascinatingly, it doesn't show a clear dividing line between North and South Korea, and
Interesting, it does not show a dividing line, very interesting.
also doesn't let you zoom any further out than the country itself.
So basically, they're acting like everything else outside of North Korea does not exist.
It's a little bit more advanced than I was expecting in some ways too. Like, there's a store here where you can buy things like smartwatches and TVs, all using an electronic wallet, and it's part of the intranet. It's also on this phone, really surprising to see, if we look past the logo that is very clearly just an NBC ripoff. This is online gambling, with even the option for sports.
Wait, let's go gambling? Absolute cinema.
Sports betting, as well as just a pretty hefty catalogue of video content that you can download onto the phones. But you can also see that the North Korean government's influence permeates every layer of this, even the types of movies available. I couldn't find one from the US or South Korea, but Russian movies?
Soviet Union movies, peak. They were probably dubbed.
Loads of them. Remember, the criteria here is not which movies does the North Korean population like the most, it's which movies does the regime want the population to watch. And so it makes sense that it's all filled with Russian content, since Russia is one of North Korea's closest political allies. And Russian ideologies line up very closely to North Korean ones. There's also, weirdly, a bunch of Indian movies, including ones
The Indians are there. Let's go. See? You got representation, guys.
that I've seen before, like 3 Idiots.
For these guys, college is a no-brainer. 3 Idiots. Peak.
The link between North Korea and India isn't as clear-cut, but the guys from Daily NK have a theory that Indian culture hits a bit of a sweet spot. It's kind of different enough to seem exotic and interesting to North Koreans, but while still not posing a threat to their culture in the way that Western content does. And then,
Damn. The question is that a compliment or an insult? They don't see you as a threat to their culture, so they allow your movies.
then there's just a whole load of apps that feel not just guided by the government, but directly requested by them. Like, this one is entirely biographies of past and current North Korean rulers. Something else I've never seen before is a general guidance app, which is split into 4 categories: laws, regulations, a legal dictionary, and then common sense, which really is exactly what it sounds like. It's so strange. It's like, how should we legally understand the family? Who are relatives? Can't relatives marry? I wonder if the idea is giving
Can't relatives marry? Yeah, we don't. We don't do that here. This is not the Middle East. Chill. Hey, Poker 3 Idiots is a legendary movie. I got no idea. I've never watched it. Do you want to be a threat? I mean, yes. I want to be I think, like, if I was a leader of a country, I would at least want to be respected, right? I wouldn't want to be treated like I'm not, right? That I could be stepped on. I feel like there needs to be respect between countries.
every single person the same set of ideologies and learnings, and even there's like a humor section here, so that they effectively become the same person to squash individuality. There's even a cooking app which guides you through how to make traditional North Korean cuisine. And all of
Interesting. Maybe I need that app.
these more official looking apps, they open by first showing you a famous quote from one of their leaders, which so feels like something you'd see on the loading screen of a dystopian video game. But this is real.
Maybe it is. The entirety of North Korea is a dystopian video game. Threat to women. He wants to be that. No. That is false information. Women are a threat to me. That is false information. Women are a threat to me. Lies.
Life. And then there's also just a ton of games to play. Why is this one booting up with the Delta Airlines logo? Most of them feel pretty simple, with a big emphasis on offline play, which is true for the whole phone experience. It's actually wild how much we've been able to show and do, and that's all no doubt because the internet situation in North Korea is so sketchy. So crazy amount of stuff on both of these phones. But there's a very good reason for that. See, getting new apps is not as easy for North Koreans as it is for us.
They have to go in like a specific store to get those apps. Like, they have to locally download them. They have to locally download them to get them, right? They have to locally download them, which is crazy.
Have an app store. You can download apps on your own, but, and I can't actually quite wrap my head around how this is the reality, you can't open those apps until you've taken your phone to to an in-person store where they will authorize them for use and download the necessary back-end data for them to function. And believe it or not, there's an extra wrinkle that comes with this. Your apps in North Korea expire. So this one here is telling me it's run out and is basically asking if I want to pay for 6 months or for 12 months for a bit of a discount, effectively making every app a paid subscription, even ones you would not expect to be, like the laws of North Korea. Bearing in mind North Korea is...
Wait, the laws of North Korea are not... Can they track this, by the way? Like, if you're not paying after a while, they'd, like, jail you?
One of the poorest countries in the world, with its national income per person being just 3.4% of that of South Koreans. This feels like a pretty tough pill to swallow. I think it's likely that just the concept of being able to sustain a large library of apps is a luxury that very few will be able to afford. And that's assuming you can even afford the phone in the first place. Now, even if you did find a way to sideload your apps without going to a physical store for that authorization, or if you found a way to get around the app expiration system, which we realize you could temporarily do just by changing the date on your phone to an earlier one, there's a very important reason why...
Interesting. Okay.
You might not want to try that in North Korea. And it's called Red Flag. Red Flag is an underlying layer of surveillance software that appears on all phones sold in North Korea. We know it exists because we can see the effects of it, and I'm told older versions used to be really easy to see and get around, but in these newer phones, Red Flag is now baked into the lowest level of the Android software, making it almost untraceable and impenetrable. Plus, it blocks off developer settings, which you can normally unlock by tapping this build number several times, meaning that it stops you figuring out what is really going on behind the scenes. But the idea of Red Flag is to persistently make sure that what you're doing on your phone is legitimate. So every file, every app, every photo that you take has a digital signature, a record that signals to the phone where that file originated from. Red Flag makes sure that the only files or apps that can be opened on these phones are either ones with the North Korean government signature or a self-signature, which is files that originate from the phone itself, like photos from your camera. Anything else originating from anyone else won't have an approved signature, and so will not open. It'll just get automatically deleted by the software when it's sent to one of these.
So you cannot sideload under any circumstances, okay? Got this. You cannot sideload at all. And you also cannot work around getting around this thing. Essentially, if you might just not get a phone at all at that point. Like, you might just not get a phone at all.
Phones. Now, that doesn't seem to have stopped people from trying to get unauthorized content to work. There was an extensive report from Martin Williams and Niklaus Scheiss, which goes into how some...
What?
Martin Williams and Niklaus Scheiss.
It's Scheiss. Niklaus Scheiss. Not Scheiss. Bro, he's not poop. Pause! Stop!
Which goes into how some would try to skirt the system by opening foreign files via the phone's web browser. But now that the signature checks are happening on a deeper device level, it can pick those up. It doesn't work. Or there was a Daily NK report last year that mentioned while North Koreans couldn't store outside videos on their phones, they could insert SD cards containing the material into their phones instead. However, there is one final very sinister surveillance feature, clearly designed to deter any attempts at this. These devices, both of them, will take periodic screenshots as you're using.
Periodic screenshots? Wait. So they just, like, take screenshots of whatever you do. They don't. Most of the people in North Korea can't even afford the low-end phone. Yeah, this doesn't surprise me. There's no point in having one.
Them. You don't see these screenshots being taken in the same way that you'd expect to, but you know it's happening because I can actually show you the folder where they're being stored. I can see this has actually been taking screenshots today while I've been recording this video. The frequency of the shots seems to vary, but it's many times per day, and the most alarming part of it is
like between like 8 to 10 minutes. Like something between like 11 minutes. Every 11 minutes, it takes a screenshot.
All you can do is look. You can't click on them, you can't check them, you can't delete them. Now, whether the phones are sending those grabs over the intranet to the government continuously, or if they're just used when an official has doubts about you and wants to specifically confirm their suspicions, it's anyone's guess. But would you want to risk it in North Korea? Based on accounts from people who've escaped, this is a country which, since at least 2020, has had a law that spells out distributing and even just watching South Korean entertainment is punishable by death. People who distribute this content are tried alongside drug criminals. It's considered the same tier of crime, which says a lot about the priorities of the regime.
You can't open it. You can't. You can't, and kill you if you do something that they don't like.
So it really feels like every part of these devices, from the words you're allowed to type to the videos
Nothing about this phone is redeeming. Nothing. There's no redeeming qualities. None.
you're allowed to watch, are designed to reinforce a single narrative. North Korea is superior, foreign influence is dangerous, and everything you do is being watched. It makes me very grateful for how easy tech is made for the rest of us. I'm kind of curious, compared to the hour that it would take to go to a physical store to install a single app.
Unfortunately, I have my doubts, and I am assuming this will slowly develop. We will also slowly develop towards this. Anyways.
On a North Korean phone, how long does it take to install an entire internet connection with Zaylee, our sponsor? So search for South Korea, click that. Let's do 5 gigabytes, $10.99, go next. It's loading, and now I click Apple Pay, buy with Apple Pay, and payment is processing.
Ad poke it. Yeah, I can tell. I don't care about this ad. I'll be real. I'll be real. Regardless. What we know now is that essentially there is no escape for you in North Korea. Whatever you do, they will trace every step. Screenshots, what you buy, what you goon to. Wait, gooning is illegal in North Korea, right? You can't watch corn. They don't have corn. Wait, people have to actually go and touch grass and have segex if they're gay. Wait, being gay is illegal too. So you just have to go out and actually meet women. Interesting. It won't be this bad after having so much freedom to use it. However, they can't take it away like that. Would you know what they could do? Would you know what they could do with digital ID? The digital ID is coming in Germany, right? Slowly. And in Europe, the digital euro is coming. And then technically, they can trace back what you buy. Not only that, they can personalize ads to an absolute max. They can trace back what you buy, possibly what you watch, what you consume. They can absolutely do this exact same thing. They can do this as well. They're already working on doing it. They're literally doing it in the UK already. So yes, it will be that bad if we allow it to happen. Anyways, like, comment, and subscribe.